Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello and welcome back to our English class. My dear students of class 7, I'm your tutor, Ms. Vivekunyovile. Today we are going to take a portion from the composition. We all know, I've been telling you this every time, that we have different divisions in English. We have prose, poetry that comes under literature. We have grammar and composition. We have done some grammar topics also recently, and then today we are coming to the composition. Let me explain to you a little bit about what composition is. Compositions are the writings that you have to expand your idea and write. It is not only about knowing the technique and then giving out the right answer. Unlike grammar, because that's what we do in a grammar, right? In grammar, we learn what is an article, and teachers usually tell us to write sentences with articles, or teachers tell us to underline the articles in a sentence, or we are even asked to fill in the blanks. That is the most common question that we get in grammar. When it comes to composition, you need to express your ideas. We know that if we just keep on memorizing, that is not the education that we need. We are not learning, but we are just memorizing. We are having a rote learning. We call it the rote learning, because you just have to memorize certain answers and then you put it into the writing. That is also required, but that is just collection of knowledge. When it comes to writing, that is the portion where you are able to express yourself in writing. And a person who continues on with the writing, that is the compositions in English, you will find that as you keep on writing different kinds of things, you will find that your ideas get expanding more and more. Some of you may think that since you're in class 7, you don't have to start writing. But let me tell you this, there are so many young writers too. You might even have heard of that in the newspapers. You might have seen them on the TVs, the radios, and so on. And so, when it comes to this composition part, I want you to take it very seriously. Some of you will even start learning how to write a poem at a young age, whereas some people, even after passing their class 10, class 11, 12, they still find it difficult to frame their own sentence. That is because you are not trained, or we are not trained to put our ideas into practice of writing. That is the reason why there are some students who cannot write, whereas there are some students who can write very well. That is also because of their talents that is in them. But it is not only about talents that we need, we also need practice. We know there's a famous saying that practice makes a man perfect, right? So if you keep on practicing, you will also find that as the time goes by, you will find it easier to write more and more smoothly. And then if you write something and keep today, tomorrow you may find that you have to edit something. Okay, that's fine, because at the starting, you and I cannot be perfect. And that is the reason why even for class 6 and class 7 students, the compositions topic are given, so that they will start developing on their own the writing skills that needs to be developed. When you see the topic messages, you might also be thinking of so many things. Messages just mean the words that you have to convey to someone. But when it comes to the formal writing, there's a certain rule that you have to follow. You have to keep that in your mind. There's a certain rule that you have to follow. And when I say messages, you may recollect the messages that you have written to your friends through mobile phones. It may be through emails. All those comes under messages. But in this message that we are going to discuss about today, we are going to discuss about the message that you write in the formal way. There are two types of messages. One is formal and one is informal. But for our class this year, that is class 7, we are going to learn only about informal messages. Okay, informal messages, that means messages that are sent to your near and dear ones, not to the offices. Okay, you have written your applications to the principal. Those are letters which are considered formal. We have also been discussing about the letter writings, and we know there are two types of letters, but I don't want to muck up your head with so many things. So we are just going to go in very detailed with the informal message. So get ready to learn something. You have your textbook, but for today, I'm not even going to ask you to get ready with your books. Just keep listening to what I'm going to explain to you, and then you will get to know how to write a message. Now, when we think of message, it's very easy, and I agree that it's very easy. It's very, very easy. This is something that you can write even without practicing. But there are one or two small steps in the format that you have to follow, okay? You have to follow. Since we are students, we know that we also need to score marks. Remember, the main thing is not to score marks, but to learn something that you can apply in your lives. And when you learn to write a message, it's going to be easy for you. Even when you need to pass on a message to somebody, you can always follow that format. That is one thing. And on the other side, as students, as I've already told you, we know that we also need to score marks for our examinations. Whether we like it or not, we know that gradings are also important. Okay, so both has to go hand in hand. And when I say gradings are important, don't think that you are learning only for your grading or your marks. It is also for your daily application, the things that you can use. If you suppose you do not know how to write a letter, you may have written in a wrong way, which might have given a wrong message to the receiver. That is something that we have to keep in our minds. Okay, so let's look at this. Messages. Short messages are just short letters. We know how to write a letter. We have already learned, and letters are usually long. And even when it comes to the marking, it carries around 7-8 marks. But when it comes to messages, it will be short messages. Okay, short letters. You all have learned how to write a letter, and I remember we did this topic also. So when it comes to the messages, you can just take it as a mini letter. Mini means the smaller one, right? These days, people are so much into small stuff, they do not want to carry big things. That's why there are so many people who does not prefer to sit in front of the computer. They just want their smartphones because that is easier and more handy, isn't it? That is why when it comes to this writing, messages are also called as short letters, as I've already given you here. Invitation. Let me just explain this in detail. Letters can be of different types, and remember, we are just doing the informal letter writing. Okay, we are doing on the informal letter writing. Formal, we will leave it for next year. If you go to class 8, you will learn again. So when it comes to invitation, we have informal invitation, we have acceptance, we have regret. Okay, we have invitation, acceptance, as well as a regret. When someone invites you, you know that you have to reply back, isn't it? We know that if you are going, if a friend of yours have invited you for a birthday party, your friend will be expecting you to be there at that time. But what happens is, if you don't give any message and your friend will be expecting you, but you don't turn out, whereas he has prepared everything for you, it will be a wastage of his time, a wastage of his energy and money, because he will have to spend a lot of money for the party. If you're not turning up, he could have invited some other person, but he or she has invited you because she or he considers to be important in his life. And so if you do not reply back, that is impolite on your part. Okay, see, let me give you the example of a wedding card. If someone gives you a wedding card, at the end RSVP is written. Many of you may not be aware of this. Some of you will be aware. RSVP means reply if possible. Okay, so you have to reply back, and the numbers are given there. Sometimes our people take it to be just a formality to give it like that, but when you see the word RSVP, you have to make the habit of calling them up to the given number or the email account or whatever, and then convey the message whether you are going to turn out or not, you are going to be present at that function or not. Because if you are not, that person, the host, that means the one who is hosting the party, would not count on you. He could have deducted your share, because we know it is not about saving money alone. We know that we have to save food, isn't it? Wastage of food is something that nobody likes. You don't like, I don't like. If you make something for somebody and he or she doesn't turn out, right, that means you have to waste that. And we consider wastage of food to be something that is very rude on our part. There are some people who are in hunger, but we have to keep wasting food. That is not something that we should appreciate. That is the reason why RSVP is always given. plus the seat arrangement is also one thing. Okay, those are so many things that I've explained, but you have to make sure that you send your acceptance letter or you send your refusal in the form of regret. I'm sure you say if someone invites you, you don't miss that because you don't want to go, but most of the time you cannot attend because of certain reasons. I'm going to show you a lot of samples today. But when you do this, what do you have to do? You have to make sure that you send your letter back to express whether you are going to be there or whether you cannot turn up. That is also a way of showing respect to the person who is inviting you. Without any word, you just stay back at home without attending. What will that person feel? If you give your reason, as we all are human beings, I'm here to understand you, you are there to understand me, but unless we converse, why do we converse? It's because we have to understand one another and also share our views and our grievances. Okay? And as I've said, we are going to do only on the informal message writing. So sample 1 we have. Please look at sample 1 very carefully, because in the other samples I'm not writing everything in detail. I'm just giving you the body of the message. Okay? So the first thing that you have to write is your address. Example, the name of your house can be Serene Cottage. Some of you may have houses name, right? You may have your house name. So in that case, you have to write the name of your house first. House number 91, that is just a sample that I've given you. Steel Hill Colony, Kohima, Nagaland, 797001. This is the format that you have to present your address. Okay, this is the address. I repeat, you have to make sure that your address is given very clearly, because when the person who receives your letter writes back to you, he or she should give a proper address so that your letter will reach you at the right time, at the right spot. If you just give your house name and do not mention your colony, or there may be two similar names from that same colony, if you don't mention your house number is something very important. Okay, so if you don't mention your house number, that is also going to cause a trouble to the postman again, because you will not have to deliver your letter by hand. The postman will be there to deliver your message. It's not going to be a long letter, but you still have to follow the format of a letter writing. And then example, you are writing to a person named Adi, dear Adi. This is how you can go about. In the letters, in the formal letters that we have already done in the previous classes, we don't use dear because we address the person as sir, madam, right? Most of the time in the formal letters, we know that we have to use it that way. So let's read this message together. We are celebrating Daddy's 52nd birthday at Dreamy Hope Hall, Kohima, on Friday, 4th February. So on this day, they are celebrating their daddy's 52nd birthday. Okay, daddy is getting old, so I'm sure the children have been planning outings. I want you to come to the imaginary world with me. Okay, that's why I've given names of places like this. We are celebrating daddy's 52nd birthday at Dreamy Hope Hall. That is the name of a hall, Kohima, on Friday, 4th February. He fondly remembers our stay together at Dimapur. That means the person writing this message also stayed in Dimapur, and he or she, okay, she is writing the letter to a friend who was her childhood friend. They might have stayed in Dimapur. Okay, just take it that way. Now her family has shifted to Kohima, and so they are organizing a birthday party for their daddy. So he fondly remembers our stay together at Dimapur. That means their daddy still remember Adi in her childhood. Okay, when we were together, we cordially invite you to the party at 6 p.m. So the birthday party is going to be hosted at 6 p.m. Yours sincerely, Angano. Okay, when you use the name of a person, you can use yours sincerely. I repeat, when it comes to the letter writing, we know that we have to use the word yours faithfully. Yours faithfully is used when you don't name the person. But since you are naming that person, Adi, you have to use sincerely. Okay? Yours sincerely, Angano. Once again, let's repeat. I'm not going to go in detail right now. Let's look at the format. This is the address that you have to make it very clear. Okay? and the name of the person. The next, you have to write the message in short. It has to be brief. Okay, it has to be short and clear. You don't have to start writing, how are you all doing? We are all fine here by the grace of God. You don't have to keep writing all those things, because that will be used only in letters. In message, maybe you don't have time, that is why you're writing a message, or else you would have written a long message, right? That is how you write. And the next one that we are going to have a look is informal message of acceptance. So Adi has received the letter. She's writing back to Angano. Okay, there, Angano, the address will still be the same. Okay, whoever is writing has to give their address here, but in order to save our time and space, I've just written it in short like this. Thank you for your kind invitation. It will be our pleasure to attend uncle's birthday party. That means Adi calls your father as uncle. Let's repeat. Thank you for your kind invitation. It will be our pleasure to attend uncle's birthday party. I'm so glad to know that he remembers me. Yeah, most of the time, elderly people don't recognize us, or they don't remember us because of their memory that is losing, or because of the workload that they have to carry. But it's such a nice feeling. I'm sure we all have experienced this. You're still in class 7, but when someone, an uncle who lived with you when you were in class 1, I want you to imagine with me. Okay, when you start imagining and coming to this world along with me, you will start enjoying even the composition, because sometimes I find that students find the composition part to be boring. When you start using your minds of imaginary of the imaginary world, you will find that things are getting more and more interesting. Imagine like this. Thank you for your kind invitation. It will be our pleasure to attend uncle's birthday party. I'm so glad to know that he remembers me. See, that is how you have to write your letter. He was one of my favorite uncle in the colony. I will certainly be there at the party. That is how you have to send. It's not like I'm going anyway, I don't have to write it back. That is a habit that we all need to live. And you can also educate your parents and your elders, because parents think that if you are going, we don't have to give any word. You receive a wedding card, you don't call them back and say, hey, I'm going to be there at the party. Educate them and let them also learn something. If they are not the person who does that, if they are someone who does that, appreciate them for the thing that they are doing, because that is also a way of showing respect to the person who is inviting you. Okay, yours sincerely, Adi. Now Adi has written back showing her acceptance. That means she is going to attend the party that they have organized for their daddy's birthday. And the next we have is informal message of regret. You know what is regret, isn't it? Though, so here, even here, the same thing, you have to give the address, and then comes the greetings, okay, the salutation. There, Angano, if she is not going to be able to attend, thank you for your kind invitation. I'm very glad to know that your father remembers me. He was one of the kindest and the best uncle I have ever met. Okay, this is, you can bring words of any kind. This is just a sample that I've written for you to understand. Okay, and then I regret that I will be unable to attend the party as I have my exam on the 3rd of February. See, birthday party is on the 4th, and 3rd their exam is starting. So it would be impossible for Adi to attend Angano's daddy's birthday party, right? That is the reason why she is sending. So even if you cannot attend, if you make your reasons clear like this, your friend won't mind. Sometimes you get irritated, you get annoyed, you feel bad, you feel offended when your friends say they are going to come and they don't come. But if you give your reasons like this, people will also understand. And as a student, we know our exams are one of the most important thing that we cannot miss. Even if you keep studying the whole year with your full heart and you miss your exams, you know what happened. I am not going to say that. You can just make a judgment on your own, okay? As I have my exam on the 3rd of February, do convey my regards to Uncle, yours sincerely, Adi. So if you are going to miss the party because of some reasons, make your reasons short, clear, but to the point. You don't have to keep writing, I really want to attend and this and that. But I don't want you to write like that in the form of a message, because it would become a letter again, okay? And so that is how you have to respond to the invitation that you receive, and that is also the way that you should write your letter, that you should write your message. And once again, I'm reminding you that message writing should be short, clear. You can just give in 1 or 2 sentences, no harm, or at the most 3, 4 sentences. But do not make your message too long, because if your message becomes too long, it would lose its meaning and people may even avoid reading that. Okay, so those are the 3 main topics that we have learned under message writing: informal message of invitation, acceptance, and regret for not being able to attend. So with this, we are going to conclude our class for today. Thank you all so much. I hope you learned something. I'll be coming back to you with some more interesting topics.